again, Crafty friends. It's me, Sharon Luska, and I've decided to do some sympathy cards for you today. I just got done doing the encouragement card hop with Courtney and Jen and Mary, and my channel's been growing. I started at 13 subscribers before August 1st, and you probably can see the results if you're watching this currently. I will make some updates as we go along and hopefully start to add some videos on building a card making channel. Anyways, to the card here, I've just stamped with Deepest Sympathy with black onyx Versamark ink and added some, oh my goodness, clear embossing powder to that. I thought maybe I'd try and see if I wanted to add a matte to the paper here with black, and decided to go with a ribbon instead. And I've taken my little tree die cut here, that's die cut from Nina Solar White cardstock, 80 pound, and put some multi-matte medium on the back of that. I also put some multi-matte medium on my phone when I dropped it on there. Good job. And luckily that'll come off. And I just decided to put some ribbon here. Now this paper came out of my stash. You could take that elastic band trick that you wrap elastic bands around your stamp block and probably make a similar looking piece of paper to what I'm using. And I'm just having a day here. Everything's sticking, I'm dropping everything. I don't know what's going on. But anyways, onto the card here. There again is my craft packing foam, and I'm adding a sheet to pop this up. And I really like it because you can get it approximately sized, and then normally if you have clean scissors without stickers stuck all over them, you can just slide it along and cut that right off. And added some more ATG and putting that into place on my card base here. This is a 5x7 card as well. Now that extra glob of glue that came out, I thought, you know, I'd just stick that under there to glue that down, and that worked pretty good. And that's just me confirming that that glue will come off my phone. You don't want to stick it to my head or something like that. That wouldn't be so good. And this is my bow tying technique. Again, I've said before that it's absolute treachery trying to tie bows when you're doing a video on YouTube. I think that besides not being able to find your words and saying things the wrong way, tying bows is nearly impossible. It's the curse of YouTube. And I've added one of my glue boogers, as I call them, to the back of my bow there to get that stuck on. And this is the die that I used for the tree, and this is my card. Card number 2, I'm using a see there what I said about not being able to pronounce things, Spellbinder's die. And I also picked up some finely patterned embossing folders here. Anything that's got a little bit of a fine pattern and a little bit geometric would work perfectly for this. Again, you don't have to do exactly what I do. There's lots of different ways to make a similar card using what you have in your stash. If you really like what I have, obviously go get what I have, but if you just want to use what you have, take a look at what you've got, and I bet you've got leaves and an embossing folder similar to mine. So now I'm taking some metallic cardstock that I cut my leaves out with, and I picked that up at the dollar store. They usually have it available at Christmas time, and you want to go back and look in the office section. At least that's where it was in my store. And I'm popping this up with a little bit more of my packing foam, and see how easily that just slides right along there to cut it off. Adding my ATG and folding all the little hangy pieces down. I'll get that lined up. I already stamped my sentiment with Sympathy on my 5x7 base, and added 2 extra pieces of paper to match up with the piece that I popped up. And I'm just, after playing around with the leaves and figuring out where they look best, and that's typically how I do things. That's part of my process, is, you know, just arranging and rearranging and trying, and once I find something, then I stick it down, and if I don't get it back exactly the way it was, it works out. You know, you just can't stress yourself out too much. Card making's meant to be fun, and do the best you can, and it's probably going to turn out a lot better than you think. We are our own worst critics, that is for certain. So I'm adding some gems here to this alternative glittery style card, and those were round gems. And then I also had a little packet of square rhinestones here, and since they're square, you have to worry about the orientation of the squares. So I've got a little piece of cardstock here to line them up, and I have that all done. And there's my set of second cards. Here's card number 3. And I typically always back my ribbon with some paper, especially when it's going on to a darker piece of paper. It's just a little scrap of Nina Solar White. And I took my background paper here and embossed it with another one of those fine geometric patterns, and lined them up to make sure it embossed both sides, since it's a 5x7 card. I had picked up previously a few flowers at Michael's. I think Prima has something similar to it, and you could easily cut yourself out a yellow and a green, or a yellow and a black square for the centers. And I showed 2 different styles of ribbon because I've done this card both ways, and I chose to demonstrate the silver one today for you. And I get that stuck down and tucked in before I put my card base on my actual card itself. I'm not sure what to call those things, but anyways, the card panel is probably correct. Got the card panel stamped and then stuck that to my 5x7 card base. And the ribbon's tucked back behind there to keep it neat and tidy. And I have one of these banner punches, and I'm cutting some fishtail ends. And once I've got them cut and lined up, then I cut off the excess of the black paper that I'm layering it with. And I found that the easiest way to do that. And I do use, what is that? Foam tape. There you go. Do use foam tape to pop up my sentiments. It's handy and it's easy, and I have lots of rolls of it, again from the dollar store. And here I wanted to show you, if you take a little bit of label sticker and put it on the back of the ribbon, it adds some bulk to the ribbon. And then you can actually take it, and if you use some embossing bag, and this is the stamp that I'm going to demonstrate. It's Sharon's script from Brutus Monroe. It always makes me giggle that it's Sharon's script. But anyways, maybe that's why it's one of my favorite stamp sets. So I'm just using a little bit of Versamark Onyx Black and some clear embossing powder, and I'm going to emboss that onto this ribbon, and it'll actually give a really cool effect. It's another way that you can add a sentiment to your card. And I'll just get that set with a little bit of heat as I burn my mat. And it looks pretty good. It's not quite as crisp as it would be on paper, but it still looks really pretty. And I can't take the other sentiment off because I've already glued it down, but you can watch me struggle here to try and fishtail this. I'll trim off the excess ribbon and struggle with that too, and fold the end back. And you can put this anywhere on your card, over top of the other ribbon, or wherever you like. On to the next card, and I took Deepest Sympathy from this stamp set and stamped it in Versamark ink. Of course, I keep getting my inks mixed up too, but anyways, put a little bit of powder on and used Letter It embossing ink this time, and put Ranger Gold embossing powder and heat set that. Of course, it's always fun to watch that. And I have one of those Letter It pens that came in a kit that I had gotten. And I'm just going to fill in the leaves here. Of course, I should have said I embossed onto a piece of off-white cardstock this tree. I think it's a Doris embossing folder. And what I'm doing is using the embossing pen to make the leaves sticky so that I can get this Ranger Gold embossing powder in there to stick. And it took a few passes. It was a lot of leaves, a lot more leaves than I expected. And once I had done 1 or 2 passes on the leaves, I did find that they needed an extra pass here and there, but the effect in the end was really, really pretty. It was a lot of fun, and it was what I was looking for, you know, something that's a little blingy but not over the top, because it is a sympathy card after all. And once I got that all done, I cut myself an extra mid-tone gray cardstock to layer here, and as well a piece of just satin ribbon that was in my stash. I glued it down. I probably should have put a piece of paper in between, like a little scrap of cardstock. Where the trunk of the tree is, the ribbon went a little bit rumply over top, but I don't think it looks that bad. But live and learn. If you do it, know to put something over top of the embossing, or it'll make your ribbon not smooth. Now I'm popping this up with a little bit of packing foam here and adding that to my layering piece. And you can see I just have some, I think this is gold embroidery thread twisted together or something like that. I don't know, it was in my stash. I've seen something similar, and I've just tied a knot around the side of the ribbon, so that's why I had that funny little tail sticking out there. And now I'm just going to fishtail each side, or angle cut each side to make a little mock fishtail, and I'm gonna glue this down to my card base, my card panel to my card base. I'll try and get that right in the future, and that's that card finished. I have a penny black stamp set here, and I used that. I had already had a piece of embossed paper. I think I'd bought this at a craft store somewhere. It had a pretty herringbone brick pattern on it, and I decided to use that since it was already done. And I'm going to pop up this piece of light blue paper that I had also in my stash, and put that on a little bit of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock. And just to conserve paper, as I layered these, I strategically cut them so that the layers would allow me to use just one piece of cardstock. Now, I'd taken those images as well and embossed them in white embossing powder. It's just white Ranger embossing powder. I didn't manage to get the video for that, so somebody wasn't paying attention when the button was pushed. Okay, it was me. I wasn't paying attention. So you missed that part, but obviously all of us know what embossing looks like. So I wrapped a little bit of silver thread around the bottom of this, and I've got that adhered to my card panel, and I put a little extra on to adhere it to my card base. And I also had a With Sympathy die that I cut out of silver cardstock that I added there as well. Here's card number 6. I've selected out one of those weird sheets that has really pretty florals on it, and I'm using a rectangular stitch die to cut those out. And I've taken a piece of gold wrapping paper here, and I'm putting ATG liberally on the back. You can do this as an alternative if you don't have label sheets. I also wanted to show you here, if you have a tonic cutter and you line your image up over top of your layering piece and look through the clear guide, you can get yourself perfect margins. I took some ink here and went around the edges of this dark pattern piece of paper just to hide that white edge. And I'm stamping my sentiment with Sympathy. This is a Stampin' Up sentiment with gold embossing powder from Ranger. And I'm going to heat set that. Oh, it looks so pretty when it's heat set. Add a little bit of packing foam to the back with some ATG. And that'll pop that up, and I'll get all my pieces assembled here. I just wanted to say thank you very much for joining me, watching this video. If you haven't subscribed, I really would love it if you would, pretty please. And if you'd like to leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Let me know what your favorite card is, or if you have any questions, I'd love to answer. If you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. And the blog hop as well was absolutely fabulous. I thoroughly enjoyed all the ladies that I met there, and I will be participating in another blog hop. Create in Spain is hosting one in early September. I'll post some information about that in my next video. And just a reminder, there still is 2 gift cards that I'm giving away. The contest is still open until August 20th. So if you comment, however many comments you leave on my different videos counts for each their own chance. Plus you must subscribe. So there's another reason to subscribe. And yeah, I'll be drawing that and announcing that just shortly after the 20th. Here's that final card. I did add some glossy accents to it. And thank you again for your time, and let's get crafty.